Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the November 21st, 2023 meeting of the Litchfield Planning Board. Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'll start with the roll call of members. Michael Curto, Chair.
Kate Stevens, Vice Chair.
Jared O'Connell, member.
Sam Terrell, member.
Kimberly Queenan, Selectman's Rep.
Jeremy Robitaille, member.
Okay, good evening, everyone. With us this evening is Jay Mankara from NRPC, our circuit rider, and Luke Herron, our town engineer. Welcome. Before we get started, public input on non-agenda items not on the agenda for this evening. Is there any input on non-agenda items this evening?
I may have one.
Okay.
Am I allowed to do that? Just if we can talk about impact fees, because they might have to have its own public hearing.
Okay.
If we can just add it to our discussion later today.
Okay.
Yep.
See a problem with that.
Because we approved some, remember? So, yeah,
Okay.
a warrant article, yeah.
I guess we can do that. We can do it under any other business, maybe?
Yeah,
or-
sorry, yeah.
Okay,
I
that's
just want to
fine.
make sure it's on.
All right.
Yeah.
So seeing no other public input on non-agenda items, I'll close public input on non-agenda items. I'm going to do a little differently this evening. I know the agenda starts out, we do have a public hearing tonight on the capital improvement plan. I'm going to actually start with number 2 on the because I see that we have the applicant here this evening, and I figured I'd give the courtesy before we go into doing a presentation to have them come forward. Application for 255 Dairy Road LLC, tax map 2 lot 8 at 255 Dairy Road. Parcel is 80 acres in Litchfield, 10 acres in Hudson. Litchfield parcel is in the Highway Commercial District of the Multifamily Residential Overlay District. Proposal is for 172 two-bedroom multifamily units and 30 buildings. It is anticipated the project will be phased over a 4-year period. Project will contain private roads. Application was accepted on July 18, 2023. Is the applicant present? You guys want to come forward?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Board. Happy Thanksgiving to all, and thank you for taking us out of order. I have sat through way too many capital improvement meetings over the years, as they've been on generally November agendas over the years. For the record, my name is Jim Petropoulos. I'm a professional engineer. Our firm is Hayner Swanson, Inc., doing business at 3 Congress Street in Nashua, New Hampshire. With me tonight is the owner, 255 Dairy Road LLC, Rick Charbonneau, who you know. Morgan Hollis is our project attorney. Morgan joins us as well. And sitting next to me, of course, Bob Bollinger. Bob is a professional engineer, professional traffic engineer with GPI, and he's our traffic consultant. Mr. Chairman, I'll be brief this evening. As you know by now, this is our 4th public meeting for this project. On July 18, we introduced it to, got the application accepted. We did a complete presentation. On September 19th, we came back before you and gave you an update on a number of ways we addressed different peer review comments, certainly Lou's comments, and as well as Jay's. And then on October 17th, we also had a project update meeting where I thought we were pretty much at the finish line, with the exception of not having heard from New Hampshire DOT on the review of the project, even though we had submitted it back in June. And also, you had requested the opportunity to have a little bit more discussion relative to traffic. You also requested several other items at the October 17th meeting. And so our presentation this evening will really kind of have 2 parts. I'm going to very briefly give you an update on some of the materials that we had provided through Joan, through staff, relative to the project. And then secondly, I'm going to turn it over to Bob. Bob is going to give you a recap of the traffic work. He gave us a presentation on June 18th, but that was so long ago. As well as recent discussions with the DOT. We do have a communication back from them in an email. We submitted that. Jay, I believe, has a copy of it. Joan was submitted a copy as well. If not, we have a copy this evening. And of course, when we're through, we're all available to answer any questions you might have. My part of this, what have we done since the last meeting? Last meeting, we discussed the restoration bond, and Lou Karen was kind enough to review the plan and prepare his worksheet that he forwarded to the town. 20 acres of construction activity in the first phase, a restoration bond in the amount of $88,000, which Rick has posted with the town. The second piece of information that was requested was really, we had been discussing our friendly abutter to the north about gated emergency access, and I think the hope by the board was to see something a little bit more in terms of in writing. And so we did provide to Joan and to Jay the agreement for easement document with the abutting property owner. It was submitted to Joan, who was executed by the abutter. I see that gentleman is with us this evening in the audience, so if you have any questions, we may need to call on him. That would be fine. He's a nice guy. And, you know, that document spells out what will eventually be the gated access and water access through his property that we've been discussing. The third request was information from Pennachuck Waterworks. Pennachuck is the provider in Litchfield. We had submitted plans to them back in June. We have been carrying discussions on with Pennachuck, and they provided us this month with what we call a will serve letter, a water availability letter, essentially saying that they have plenty of water to service the project. The last thing, Mr. Chairman, I want to discuss before I turn it over to Bob is a communication I know Jay received about the water system. You may recall this was discussed at our last meeting. There was concern by the town of Hudson about pressure of the system during a fire event. There was a fire at this development, and they were using a lot of water. Pressure was going to go down in other parts of Hudson, and they were a little concerned about that. So Rick and I went and met with the fire department. The fire department had initially provided with us a fire flow requirement of 1,500 gallons a minute. We provided examples to the fire department where 1,000 gallons a minute as a fire flow demand was probably more in keeping with this type of project, and they were open and listened to that and agreed with that. We then went back to the town of Hudson and said the fire flow requirement is 1,000 gallons a minute, and they said, good, you know, that'll help. They then did a remodel of the system using 1,000 gallons. Jay's in receipt of the study. And really, they kind of concluded that domestic flows are not an issue. There's plenty of water here. The project, in their modeling effort, they felt that it would be better served if, Jay, if you can just scroll down to maybe the master site plan. We're using, next slide, please. Yeah. We're using 8-inch mains throughout the main body of the project. They had said, listen, if you go to 12-inch mains, you'll have better chance of distributing and achieving 1,000 gallons a minute throughout the project. And I brought that to Rick's attention, and Rick's agreed to upsize a majority of the mains within the main body to acquiesce that comment. They did point out that the 1,000 gallons a minute within the project can't be achieved when the Merrimack River Water Booster Station is offline, but you know, that's the case today. If it's offline, then Litchfield is not going to see 1,000 gallons a minute. So I think they were just stating a fact. So I'll conclude the water piece by reciting what the town engineer put in an email, saying that beyond that, he has no further comments. So that's my part, Mr. Chairman. In summary, the restoration bond was taken care of, the Pennachuck letter, the easement document, and then some clarity and communication about the water and fire flows. We think we made good progress. So I'd like to see if you have any questions about those 4 pieces before I turn it over to Bob.
Thank you. So, yes, we did receive an agreement for, you should have received in your portals an agreement for easements. You have the letter from Pennachuck from November 7th, the memorandum from the town engineer of Hudson regarding the water assessment, and also Lou's November 15th letter regarding the cost for the bond. Does anybody have any questions for the applicant this far with regard to anything that's been said so far? Okay. So I guess, unless you have something, Kate.
No, not yet.
Okay, I thought you said something. So I guess we will turn it over to the issue, one of the big issues in this site plan is the traffic. And I see you have Mr. Bollinger with you this evening. Welcome. We've had him here before. So I guess if you want to talk a little bit about traffic impact and give us some information on that.
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. A pleasure to be back in Litchfield this evening. For the record, my name is Bob Bollinger, traffic engineer from Greenman Peterson, doing business at 116 South River Road in Bedford, New Hampshire. Just for the board's recollection, I did provide testimony at the July 18th hearing, and I'll just kind of give a brief recap of my notes from that evening. I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth. Obviously, Jay and Lou are here. The traffic effort that was prepared, I don't think that there was any specific technical critiques of kind of the specific engineering mechanisms that we use to develop our traffic volume projections. I'd certainly be happy to go into any level of detail that you'd like about trip generation, level of service, things of that nature. I think the real crux of the traffic issue came down to the proposed off-site mitigation. The board may recall at the time that the traffic study was published, the applicant had already committed to an exclusive, if I may stand and just approach
Sure,
briefly.
absolutely, yes.
Thank you. And also for the board's pleasure, I do have a hard copy of that plan. I don't know if that's easy or hard
Yeah,
for you
no,
to see, but
we can take that, absolutely.
Certainly. This is about 5 feet.
Okay.
I'm only slightly taller than this plan.
All right, well, we'll,
It may just give you a
gotcha.
slightly better representation.
Okay, thank you.
But I did want to point out, initially as part of our study, we had concluded that a southbound left turn lane on Derry Road was appropriate given the traffic volumes in and out of the site. I don't think that there was any contention with that, and the applicant was amenable to implementing that physical construction. I think what town took some exception with was, what could we possibly do with Cutler Road? I know that there was some written opinion such that Cutler Road be realigned to the north to form a true four-way intersection. We heard you loud and clear. We looked at that at least on a very preliminary basis, and what we found is that there's at least 3 private properties that we just don't have the right to acquire. A private applicant does not have eminent domain power. One of those 3 is in fact owned by New Hampshire DOT. However, there is a process involved with that. One does just not go to DOT and say, hey, we want that piece of land. It's approximately a 12 to 18 month process. And even if that piece could be secured, there's still 2 other private properties that our preliminary assessment indicate would be required to basically realign Cutler Road to directly come in opposite our site driveway. That being said, we wanted to go back to New Hampshire DOT, and pardon my absence for the last 4 months, but we did want to have at least some acknowledgement from New Hampshire DOT that we are on the right path. Obviously, we do require a New Hampshire DOT driveway permit. They're going to be maintaining this road, so we wanted to make sure that they were at least satisfied on some preliminary basis that we were moving in the right direction. So in the ensuing 4 months since July, we've kind of been going back and forth with New Hampshire DOT, trying to get them to a point where they are satisfied with what we have proposed here. Folks are obviously very familiar with Cutler Road. It presently comes in at a skewed angle. Further, there is a splitter island here, and as such, Cutler Road bifurcates on its approach to Derry Road. And it's a little bit of an unusual geometric configuration, not just because of the skew. The skew in itself is not desirable, but not the end of the world. From a safety and a geometric perspective, it's really that splitter island that causes a lot of problems when you're allowing that two-way traffic flow. Believe it or not, that's not an uncommon configuration in New Hampshire. There's a lot of communities where you see that quite frequently. That said, we did evaluate crash history. There's not necessarily a significant crash history, not a discernible pattern. However, what we did want to concede was that there is a possibility to realign Cutler Road more or less within the present right-of-way, bringing this in at closer to a 90-degree angle, at least as close as possible, providing separate left and right turn lanes out, and we eliminate that conflict on all sides of the island, again, where two-way traffic flow is presently allowed on all sides. Further, we have agreed to extend the three-lane section that was originally proposed all the way down, providing a northbound left turn pocket into Cutler Road. And the plan is actually quite a little bit large, but so it pans off to the left, but this has been designed, at least on a preliminary basis, to appropriate New Hampshire DOT geometric standards. Actually tapers down just beyond the church driveway. What you see before you is a design that I hate to use the word blessing, and I always hate to use other people's words, or at least paraphrase them. So if I may read directly from New Hampshire DOT, just for the record. Rich Radwanski, District 5, New Hampshire DOT engineer. Quote, the revised geometry for the Cutler Road approach will be a significant improvement compared to the existing configuration. Based on Rich's comment, the applicant is prepared to bring this conceptual plan to full final design, and this would be implemented as part of the final mitigation for the project. This would still have to undergo additional New Hampshire DOT review. There's things like drainage and utility poles that haven't fully been considered in this plan. However, in terms of the basic geometric layout, improving upon what was there previously, as well as accommodating what is necessary for our site traffic, we feel that this is a much more complete plan than was originally presented. Further, we feel that we have tried to address the Cutler Road element to the extent possible, at least to the extent possible within the existing public right-of-way. And lastly, we have gotten some sort of cosign, if you will, from New Hampshire DOT indicating that not just is this acceptable, but again, they specifically use the word significant improvement over existing conditions. With that being said, I'd like to just pause there and see if there are any questions at this time, or if I can elaborate on any other elements of the traffic study. Again, it's the pleasure of the board. I'd be more than happy to take any questions that you have.
Anybody have any questions?
So DOT didn't have any issue of the left turn lane sort of beginning right in front of the church's driveway?
No, it's this type of configuration is fairly common. Something that the DOT may have considered, and again, I don't want to suppose exactly what they considered and what they did not. Oftentimes, a use like a church, it doesn't have the same peak hour characteristics as a commercial facility, say, or a residential community. I know certainly churches are open on more than just Sunday morning, but if you think about those real heavy concentrations, it's by and large, kind of a one time a week generator, even if there are some other ancillary daily facilities. they still would benefit from the fact that they're gonna have a formalized wider shoulder than they do right now. Based on some of the tire tracks that are out there, folks are maybe sort of using that as a de facto bypass lane now. But we feel that by formalizing the pavement width all the way down, I guess to answer your specific question, DOT did not see any issues with that, and further, that is a fairly geometric happenstance. The logical question, I suppose, is where would you cut this off? And I suppose if funding were unlimited, there is a 3-lane section further to the south in Hudson. I think it's a couple miles away, but adhering to kind of the rational nexus concept, you know, what is proportional for our impact? And given the fact that, again, we are providing the left turn lane into our site, as well as extending those improvements down to accommodate a known town concern, I think that this satisfies it. You know, to answer your question again, Ms. Stevens, in a perfect world, we could have extended this 3-lane section for a couple miles to the south, and I think the same is true. My Google map aerial isn't recalling exactly, but I think there's a 3-lane section further to the north as well, but it's a mile or two. So you have to come up with some logical, proportional project limits, and we think we've done that here.
Okay, that's understandable. If the state engineer doesn't have, it was just that the transition point was right in front of that driveway, but if the state engineer doesn't see an issue with that, I'm gonna trust their expertise.
And I think even if we took it down a little bit further, there was always gonna be another driveway, another driveway, another driveway. And so I, as a licensed professional engineer, it would be my testimony that this plan is satisfactory per current New Hampshire DOT design standards.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about trip generation?
Certainly.
What's, you know, in terms of what we would see?
Certainly.
Just curious.
This board has obviously heard traffic testimony before, so what this study focused on was the weekday AM peak hour and weekday PM peak hour, typically when residential communities have their highest generating characteristics. During the weekday morning peak hour, a total of 84 trips. That would be comprised of 21 entering and 63 exiting, and that kind of makes sense. Most people are exiting in the morning. Similarly, in the weekday PM peak hour, 99 total trips. That would be comprised of 58 entering and 41 exiting. So again, that kind of jives with what we all see in the afternoon. Most folks are coming home. Proportionally, we expect traffic to travel a little more than half, 55% to and from the north, a little, the remaining percentage to and from the south. We base that on published census data, journey to work data. You can actually derive, for example, if one were living in Litchfield, where are the likely commuting opportunities based on where work centers are located. So it's more than just a little bit of a guess. It's a documented educational guess in that instance. Based on those trip generation characteristics, for the size and type of development, this is kind of why we started with the southbound left turn lane into our site. Sometimes you're going to have a situation where you know, you're kind of at a threshold here. We're given the expected trip generation. We thought some sort of geometric improvement was called for, and obviously the board asked us to elaborate upon that a little bit based on the unique Cutler geometry. But again, for the size and type of this development, you know, generally speaking, slightly less than 100 peak hour trips, or if you just want to round up, say 99, 100, this would be an appropriate geometric mitigation for a project of this size and type. And in terms of, I guess, just to take it one step further, get all the traffic engineering out of the way, we're expecting good levels of service throughout. You know, left turns, you know, we're going to operate under capacity. You're going to experience some delay during peak periods, but that's kind of typical of any side street or driveway, you know, along a major state highway. You're gonna have to wait a little bit longer to make a left turn at an unsignalized location. Right turns are going to exit without much difficulty at all, and left turns into the site are gonna operate very well, level of service A or better. And again, they do have a dedicated left turn pocket for storage, so southbound vehicles would be able to easily bypass left turn vehicles destined towards the site. So operationally, there are no concerns. I did allude to the accident history at Cutler. Similarly, we found no significant crash history or any real crash history at all at the former BAE facility. Site distance is excellent. It's a very straight, it's a very flat section of roadway. You probably couldn't have asked for better sight lines on at least on any recent projects that I've worked on. In terms of, again, appropriateness, we feel that this is a much more complete and satisfactory plan. And again, we were very pleased that yesterday we finally heard back from New Hampshire DOT, and we were able to bring something substantive, hopefully, back to this board this evening.
And do you have a copy of the letter from DOT?
I'd be more than happy. I brought one extra with me, so.
Yeah, just, we can submit it for the record. and-
Certainly.
Yeah,
Jay, or
Yeah,
you, or?
that's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. That has not been memorialized any more formally than that at this point, and obviously we understand that we're still gonna have to go through several.
There's a process, I assume, there's another hearing process, is that what you have to do?
It's, we would ultimately, if we were approved by this board, we would basically build upon this and come up with final design plans. There's probably a round or two of comments with New Hampshire DOT. And ultimately, at the end of the day, when you make them happy, you're issued a driveway permit. For this board's information, you may have heard through other applications, getting that final DOT permit is taking a very long time right now. I wouldn't even want to ballpark it for you, but the news we received yesterday from the department, basically, I interpreted that as green light, thumbs up, proceed, we can deal with this. And obviously, that's not what you have before you tonight is not the
Right.
equivalent of a
Yeah.
permit. But I think, given the circumstances, given all the additional work that was done with the concept, I think I'm personally pleased that DOT was able to recognize that and at least acknowledge that they thought we were working in the right direction with this one.
Okay, great, thank you very much. Anybody have anything else for the traffic session? Jay, do you have any comments?
Really, I think Mr. Petropoulos hit on a lot of the issues, but kind of looking at my short list, the letter from Pennachuck, which we've received, and I think the applicant has addressed the concerns related to water pressure that were raised by Hudson. So those were key outstanding issues. The easement agreement was obviously another key issue, and that has been submitted, obviously be subject to town council review, and we do have the affected party here if we have any questions on that front. And then obviously the traffic issue. Lou's probably in a better position to comment than I, but this does appear to be a significant improvement over the existing condition. And I think I was not aware that we had a communication from DOT, but I think that certainly gives us a much greater comfort level, that this is a plan that's workable. Depending on the outcome of this evening, obviously, should in the process of working with DOT, there be any significant changes to this, needless to say, I think that's something that the board would want to see. But I think it certainly gives me a comfort level that we could move forward from this point.
Actually, do you want to just? Sorry. Okay. Anything else, Mr. Petropoulos? Anything that you want to add?
Bob did a wonderful job. The only note I made is there's actually a vertical piece to that Cutler Road tie-in. There's a little bit of a vertical grade there that will be improved as well, and I think that will help people, as they're teed up onto Dairy Road, that site distance piece to look back and forth, so. Yet another compliment or improvement to the plan, I just wanted to, but other than that, I thought Bob did a wonderful job describing, in plain speak for dummies like me, how it would work, so,
Very good.
thank you.
Mr. Karen, do you have any comments?
I like it better than the first one that came in. And given the fact that you do have the multiple owners to try and line up a four-way intersection would be a challenge. So, you start looking, do nothing or do something, this is something, and I think an improvement.
Okay.
I'm just curious, is Rich been hired back as a consultant? For the? I thought he left.
No. Brian DeFosis left, and it took a few months to fill his assistant's position. Yeah, so.
Brian went to Bedford.
Okay. I thought I'd heard Rich had retired or something.
If Rich left, we'd all be in a lot of trouble. So.
Oh, they'd just come back as a consultant.
Mr. Charbonneau, did you want to say anything, or you're good? Okay, all right,
I think we've accomplished what everybody seemed to have an
okay.
problem with,
Um,
and dug down deep, and we're
Yeah.
gonna fix a couple of roads.
well, good. Does anybody else have any questions for the applicant before I open up the public hearing? Okay. At this time, I'm going to open it up to public comment. Is there any members of the public that wish to comment on this project? Obviously, the butter, is it the lobster boat?
Yes.
That is here this evening? Did you have anything you wanted to add? Obviously, we have that agreement from the applicant regarding the emergency access. Anything to add, or? No. Okay.
The DOT. Was at the bottom of that piece.
And you did sign this document? Did you sign it yet, or no? Yeah, he signed it. This must be a copy then, because it's not, this might be.
Yeah, that came in earlier in the week. It's been executed by both parties, yeah.
Okay.
We have a signed copy if someone wants to take a copy of it.
If you do have a signed one, we'll take it, yeah.
Take a
definitely.
copy of it, but we only have one. I'll just
Oh,
If you
yeah,
just
you can
email
just
it
send it,
after the
then don't worry about it. No big deal, yeah, as long as you get it. Okay. All right, any other public comment this evening? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to close public input. I'm going to bring it back to the board. Any further questions from the board, any concerns? What would the board, what is the will of the board? Obviously, I believe the applicant is seeking conditional approval this evening. And it is good they actually have something from DOT, which they received. And it sounds like it's a good thing. This is a significant improvement to the, to what was originally proposed. Probably, I mean, obviously, if anything changes, you may, you would probably have to come back, I would assume, to the planning board. If there's anything within the process of, so that to update us on the DOT, that might be something that would be done. But I don't know, it's up to you guys. I don't know what your thoughts are. What would you like to do?
Can I just add something?
Yeah.
If you do give us conditional approval, we want to be able to start construction, but no occupancy permits until we have our DOT permit.
Okay,
Okay.
good enough.
Construction.
Construct.
Say that again?
We want to be able to build buildings, but no occupancy permits until we have our DOT approval.
Right.
And we don't plan on starting till until middle of March anyway. They will have it by then, but it's gonna take 6 months to
Right.
build, or more to build the unit, so we should have it.
Mr. Chair, if I may ask a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just status of the Hudson approval?
Oh, that's true.
We go there Wednesday night next week.
That's my only, I think that's one of the, Hudson has not
Wait
had a
in.
chance to review this, and I
Okay.
feel like as good neighbors, we should give them a chance to have it before their board. But I'm not sure what the normal,
Yeah, so
procedure is
if I
on
may
that.
add to Mr. Chairman, it's common, you have split properties. In, frankly, they have been notified, they were part of regional impact, so they have any right to appear at these 4 meetings. We will appear before them for the first time. Again, it's for, storage units and an outdoor parking area in Hudson for the benefit of this project, not open market. What I think the control you have is that because it's in both towns will need to sign the recorded Mylar that you put on record. And so that's the, I guess that's the hook you have we will need to obtain their approvals before, we can get meaningful building permits and C of Os here.
And you can
Until
make
that
it a
plan
condition.
until that plan is signed. So if it's a condition of approval that the work proposed in Hudson be approved, that's fine. But we'd like not to hold up moving forward, subject to them acting on it.
Yeah, Kim,
And
I'm sorry.
we need to be careful here, because I'd still want what you have done in the past, reach out to Kim Kleiner and our attorney to make sure the town is not, liable in any way.
Yes, we have one agreement that we had talked about the last time we were here, that is, could we start construction right away? And the vote was consenting to that, but this would be the next level. This would be like the Thoreau property where there's a conditional approval and we want to get going, but no C of O. And so I would do a separate agreement like I did for that one.
But I would like it approved by legal before
Yes.
any of this
Before
happens.
anybody starts it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That has to be one of the conditions, that it goes to legal, let you handle it, you know what's
Yeah.
happening, and that our legal approves it.
Okay.
Because of the going out of order, that's the reason.
So how big is the concern about water pressure during a fire when the Merrimack River Booster Station is offline?
It's the same concern today as it is after we construct. If that booster station is not in use because of maintenance or repair, it's the same condition. This project does not adversely impact that. It doesn't cause that booster station to go down. So, what the upsizing from the 8-inch main to 12-inch main does is it pretty much ensures that throughout Rose Meadows project, we're able to deliver 1,000 gallons a minute to the residents in Litchfield. And we see that as a good improvement.
Are there any numbers on how much will be delivered when that station is offline, as is the case now?
No, they didn't pursue that.
But that is a problem throughout the whole town, not just for this project.
Yeah.
So wherever you live, if that booster station goes down, they probably can't give you 1,000 gallons a minute yours.
So then you don't plan on installing a booster station at the entrance?
We do not, no.
Any other conditions for approval if we were to conditionally approve this evening? Any other thoughts?
I'm just going through my notes from last meeting, and Lou, you had mentioned something about fixing a 10% grade on the state side. Is that,
I've been
that what you-
assured this evening by Jim that
Yeah.
that will get taken care of.
okay, thank you. And you mentioned that you wouldn't be able to make a 4-way intersection because of the properties in the way of, adjusting Cutler Road. But has the state or have they suggested or considered that the existing BAE driveway is moved to meet Cutler Road?
We considered it, we expressed testimony at a previous meeting about this, where we considered an S-curve back into Cutler. And if I may approach here, we'd be very, very close getting proper radius on this wetland here to get back to here. It would also eliminate the future potential of a commercial use at that lot. If you remember Rick's testimony early on, that will be the last building built because it is highway commercial zone. It makes sense if there was ever a use there that knocked on our door and said, hey, we'd like to be there. By relocating our drive to Cutler, it would go right through the middle. It would eliminate that, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jay, do you have any final comments or suggestions?
No, I don't. I think that covers it.
Lou, are you good?
The only question is the 20-acre okay that I just did the restoration bond for. With a conditional approval, was that 20 acres become a larger area?
Yeah, we might need a bit
It's
of
one of those things where it's like, you could do it.
Okay.
I don't care.
Yeah, 'cause it's probably
Okay.
I'm just wondering how they related to each other.
It's gonna get bigger. Construction will be bigger than. It will be dirt phase, so you probably should double it.
The foundations.
Yeah, it'd just be helpful by phases.
You're gonna move dirt from one place to the other. You can make it.
Hey Lou, why don't we put together, like we did a quick sketch, we'll put together different pieces with areas, and we'll say we're gonna do these pieces.
That would be good.
So that you could have a restoration bond for the pieces.
Yep.
Okay.
If you wanna figure out a restoration bond for 60 acres,
Yeah,
okay?
you just want something to base it on.
Yeah, but just,
Yeah, I don't want you bonding any more than you have to.
it's
Rick loves bonding,
just not,
It's not a,
it's not a.
it's not a big nut.
apparently.
Okay.
Mixing companies are way bigger expensive. And upsizing to 12 inches is way bigger expensive.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like much, but going from 8-inch to 12-inch is over 200,000.
And that's cheaper than a booster station?
Much.
Plus there's no main, yeah, boost station.
Much.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Hydrants now.
Anything else? Just trying to. Okay. Does anybody want to entertain a motion? Conditional approval?
I'll make a motion to conditionally approve the project based on the plans we've seen today and our board comments.
Okay.
I'll second.
Do you want to just go over what those conditions are, just so that we have an understanding?
What I have written down is, it's to allow to begin construction, but with no occupancy permits. We're still looking for Hudson and, Hudson's approval, NHDOT's permits, restoration bonds, and working with the town council for a liability waiver, as was done the previous conditional approval.
Yes, for the first item you mentioned,
On the first item, yeah.
about the occupancy permit, you have to flip it around there.
Oh, yes, okay, they're
So
tied
the
together.
legal
I
goes
wrote them
with
down
that.
separate. Did I miss
AOT
anything?
permit?
What's that, I'm sorry?
We-
AOT permit?
It would be subject to that. We're
Yeah.
in the 99-yard line with them through fishing game, so yes.
Yeah, we've got the standard approvals.
Subject to.
Yeah. so- And satisfactory review of the proposed easement agreement. by town
By
council.
town council, yeah. Anything else?
Would we normally have Lou also reviewing the final, roadway improvement plans? Or is that more with the state, because it's the state road?
Really the state. The only, the only issue I had is with the driveway approach.
That was the
It
10%.
They matched the existing condition, and it had a little funky steep grade to it, which they had plenty of room to fix, so.
Okay,
And I've been assured it'll get
Mhm.
taken care of.
all right, thanks.
You can make it a part of your condition if you want.
Well, I guess we can make a condition that, you know, you guys are gonna do a sketch for the 60 acres.
It'll be more than a sketch when the DOT gets done.
And DOT, approval.
Yeah.
So obviously you're gonna have probably other hearings with DOT, probably in the process. Do we wanna make a condition that, we just get like sort of a, you know, where you are in terms of the process? Maybe like having like a compliance hearing or something? Should we do that, or?
My notes reflect, Mr. Chairman, that if there's significant changes to the Dairy Road contemplated improvements, that we come back before the board for
Okay.
review
I
and
had a
comment.
deviation to the plans that we see in front of us.
So I'm gonna make that a condition if that.
Okay.
Anything else? Just wanna make sure I covered everything.
I'm just gonna say, I'm making sure that first one goes by legal. I wanted,
Yeah, that-
nobody's gonna say anything
That'll
else.
definitely be the first one.
I'm just, that's the third time I've said it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Noted.
Legal, excuse me, town council will have to approve the waiver of liability. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice tonight. Obviously, any recommendations by Jay that have already been discussed, I mean, obviously, that are conditioned. Anything that Lou has, basically has been conditioned. So I think that's standard approval. And obviously, state permits, it's conditioned on state permits being approved, you know, AOT, DOT. et
Correct.
cetera. So. Okay. All right, is there anything else, or do we want to take a vote?
I guess
Yeah,
I just
go
had a
ahead.
question of, by approving this tonight, if we're still waiting on all of these permits and everything, what are you gaining? If you're already working on what we conditionally approved last time, so is it just to build buildings on top of like the roads? Okay. Wanted to fully understand that. Thank you.
The only permit that we don't really have is the DOT permit.
Right.
That's the only one we're waiting on, really.
Right.
We're at the finish line with everybody else.
Yeah.
And obviously, you know, obviously the condition that, you know, DOT, obviously they, basically will approve the Cutler Road,
Right.
configuration.
And we really don't have any issues with the internal site plan, it's just the connection to the road.
Right. And you're going to Hudson when, Mr. Metropolis?
Next week.
Next week? Okay,
Next Wednesday.
next Wednesday. Okay. All right. We've got all that in place. I think we've addressed pretty much everything.
Should we reiterate what we've put together, because there's been a lot of discussion.
Yes, there is.
Long motion.
4 times.
What's that?
It's a very long motion. Yes.
Very long motion. So we just want to recap what, So I have the conditions, obviously, the state permits are a condition of approval. That would be the AOT, DOT, whatever state permit is required for this site plan application. That has to be approved. The town council will review the waiver of liability to allow beginning construction. There will be no occupancy permits. Until DOT has concluded its review and approved the permit.
Any deviation to those plans we have from DOT?
Right, they would have to come back to the planning board for hearing. Let's see.
The additional restoration bond be approved through Lou Karen's?
Correct.
office?
Yeah, restoration through Lou. Both towns, obviously, I would have to sign the recording Mylar on record,
Correct.
condition. I think that was everything.
That's
And
all I had.
obviously, the condition, I can't talk tonight. The application is conditioned on comments by Jay and Lou. I know they've already commented, but just to reiterate that, their recommendations, that is a condition of approval. And following the zoning board decision, I should have added that. Zoning board decision will be a condition of approval. You've already been to the building zoning board, they've approved it, but just as a condition of approval for the planning board, the zoning board's decision.
You have that though, right?
Yeah, we do.
Why is that a condition then?
Well, it's just, I'm in compliance with the zoning board's recommendation.
Unit and note.
Right. So I would make that condition, that note be on the plan, that the zoning board has made an approval and that you've met compliance with the zoning board's decision. Okay. And subject to the standard conditions of approval. And obviously the approval of the proposed easement by town council. That's important. And the final roadway improvements. Okay. All right, I think that's everything. Does
That's all
everyone-
that I had.
Yeah.
covered
Is that good? All right, so we do have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second to the motion?
A second.
For conditional approval, a second by Kate. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of conditionally approving the application for 255 Dairy Road LLC tax map 2 lot 8 at 255 Dairy Road, please signify by saying aye based on the conditions of approval we've mentioned this evening. Aye. Those opposed? Abstained? Motion passes 6-0-0. Okay,
Thank you very much.
all right, very good.
Have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Okay, you too, thank you. Oh, yeah, you can, yeah, I'm sorry. No, you can, actually, I think we have copies anyway, yeah, we're good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You don't wanna hang it on the wall somewhere?
I don't have room.
When we were here for the road project, we asked if you could keep that.
Did I? You know what, I will, I'll give it to Joan. No, you know what, I will, I'll give it to Joan, she can put it in the file. You're right, that's true. Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Great gift.
It's an early Christmas gift, thank you.
Memorandum, there we go.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is, I'm gonna go up to back to number one. And we're sort of out of order this evening, but. So tonight is the public, hearing for the capital improvement program, for 2024, 2029 for the town of Litchfield. I've been asked tonight to present that to this planning board, and this is also the public hearing for folks who have questions about the plan. It's, and obviously Jay has you will see up on the screen, we have the PowerPoint presentation, which I'm going to give right now. Thank you, Lou. Have a good night. Hopefully I can get through this before losing my voice. Okay. So the Capital Improvement Committee has met once again for 2024. I think we started meeting, back in August, Jay, or earlier, July?
Earlier. I think our first meeting was earlier.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was April or something.
We took a bit of a break while
We had a little bit of a lull, and then we started kicking up again. I have to say I'm impressed because we actually, I think last year we took a lot longer look running through the plan. I think this year was much shorter time frame. We were able to get it in faster, I think.
ahead of the
So
game this year.
we had pretty good turnaround time. So the committee is composed of members of the planning board, school board, board of selectmen. There are 2 citizens reps, a budget committee representative, obviously NRPC is involved, and the business administrator for the Litchfield School District. The business administrator for the Litchfield School District, NRPC, and budget committee reps are non-voting reps, and the others are all voting. This year, myself as planning board representative, Andrew Cutter was the vice chair, school board representative, Billy Queenan was our board of selectmen representative, Peter Stone, citizens rep, Marion Colby, citizens rep, Kerry Douglas from the budget committee, Kim Kleiner was our town administrator, Jay Minkara, and Douglas Totten. And once again, Kerry, Kim Kleiner, Jay, and Doug were non-voting members. So when the Capital Improvement Committee was first formed, it put together a vision statement, and that vision statement, as you see up there on the screen, was intended as a blueprint for the 6 years, the next 6 years, what it's going to look like. And this had to encompass what was going to be the future growth of the town, its resources, prioritizing strategic short and long-term goals, economic development goals, cost impacts. The committee was to look at that, as well as offsetting revenue sources, and basically the town's future considered in the CIP plan. The plan itself is an advisory document and looking at different things such as the heritage preservation and community character, land use and growth management, preservation of natural resources, economic development, community services and facilities, infrastructure needs, replacement and continuing maintenance of town assets. What the CIP was designed was to take recommendations of lists of capital needs across the town and school district, and to take a look at tax impact and different factors that go into play when it comes to the needs of the town and the needs of the school. And we would basically submit those to the Board of Selectmen, and the Board of Selectmen would have and obviously the Budget Committee can weigh in as well, to recommend warrant articles for March 2024. And what we do that in basically a fiscally responsible manner, which is basically we're looking at all possible options, and we take it very seriously in terms of what we see as an important capital improvement versus what is not. So the capital improvement plan, what is it? It outlines a schedule for proposed investments in land, buildings, and equipment for over 6 years. This year's 2024 through 2029 is what we're looking at in terms of the capital plan. Projects in the plan are classified by need, urgency, and timing, and they're based on information provided by the town departments, boards, committees, commissions, and all the information related to cost and sources of funding. That's what the committee looks at. And why do we exercise this? Well, this is basically the purpose of the plan is to assist the Board of Selectmen, the Budget Committee, and the voters in town of the, what are the large capital investments within the context of a larger plan that need to be addressed. And we look at what are the priorities for those capital projects. Under state law, one of the other reasons for a capital improvement plan, impact fees. So we are required to adopt a CIP in order to continue to assess impact fees on new development in town. And the benefits of that of impact fees, well, that allows the town to offset costs of new buildings, equipment purchases, and other capital investments to accommodate new residential development, costs that would otherwise be borne solely by the taxpayer. And one of the things that we thought was important for the CIP, we want this to be a living, breathing document and an ongoing process. So one of the things that's important is by adopting this CIP, we continue to keep it current, relevant as to planning and as a planning and budgetary tool. Just a little history, CIP statutory authority is under RSA 674(5) and 6. Originally, this was a planning board function. In 2014, the town of Litchfield delegated the authority to the Board of Selectmen, which can be done by statute. And basically, this committee was formed at the direction of the Select Board, and it was created to develop a master plan for key projects spanning both town and schools. Most of the projects that we're looking at are anticipated expenses from various departments is to exceed $50,000. This document is really a planning document. It is not anything regulatory in nature. The plan needs to be voted on by respective boards, budget committee, Board of Selectmen, the voters, the town each year. And obviously, it's not going to actually reflect tax impact or actual funded projects at that stage until the Board of Selectmen has reviewed and determined what is going to be the priority. CIP was developed based on input from the various department heads in town, as well as the school district, and as well as the committees and boards, such as the Recreation Commission, Conservation Commission. So in 2004, there were 4 urgent priorities that were ranked urgent. That was new police facility needs assessment, police department records management system replacement, the replacement of the talent hall floor, and the new elementary school. The committee did make a conscious effort to limit or peak or valley in tax rate the impact from year to year. In 2024, 1.2 million was the number, 3.1 million to 3.6 million for 2025 to 2029. I'm going to skip over water improvement. That is a placement holder there. There needs to be more information provided for that particular, those particular improvements. I know there's still discussions between the Board of Selectmen and legal on that. So I'm going to go right to the police department. Police department is basically looking to do a facilities needs assessment as a first step to planning. The committee felt that this was an urgent priority because due to space issues within the current department, and it's important that that we take a look at what it is that we need for a future police department in Litchfield. So that was an important thing. 2024 vehicles include the use of 2 new as replacements for an aging fleet and 1 supervisor vehicle that was requested from the police department as one of their asks. 2024 also include an urgent need to replace a 15-plus year aged records management system, which in the next 3 years is no longer going to be supported. We felt that that was an urgency that needed to be addressed, and so we took that into consideration in looking at the plan. You'll notice the priority of ranking. So the new police facility needs an assessment was urgent. Placement of the cruisers, 3-year, 1 following, so 2-1-2 schedule, that is necessary. And the records management as urgent. The police facility needs assessment with total project cost of $30,000. The replacement of the cruisers, the 6-year total came to $758,000, and records management, as we classified urgent, total project cost of $66,495. Fire department replacement remains on the plan currently, based on what was previously approved. And there is no updates or new requests this year submitted by the fire department, so we kept that priority ranking as research based on that for the 1991 tanker truck. Highway department, so the town operating budget includes the $200,000 for annual road improvements. That's in accordance with the master road plan. There is $1,200,000 of existing revenue. The transfer station highway department paving was rated as a necessary priority. Due to the due to the failing in many areas and the need of the replacement for that process. Excuse me. So the total cost project for the operating budget was ranked necessary for $200,000 a year. That comes to $1,200,000. Transfer station highway paving garage. Total project cost of $300,000. F-350 truck replacement was deferred. That was one of the requests, but that one was deferred. The total project cost for that was $90,000, and the 2000 international replacement was ranked necessary at a total cost of $165,000.
And just to note, the operating budget of $200,000 a year, you don't see anything funded in there because that's block grant funding.
Right. Recreation Commission came before the Capital Improvement Committee. There were 2 major concerns regarding Recreation Commission, and one was the replacement of Talent Hall floor and Sawmill Park resurfacing of the tennis courts. Though the replacement of Talent Hall floor we prioritized as urgent. This has, I think, been a thing that has been long overdue. I think Talent Hall has been a topic of discussion for a number of years. And this particular topic, I think the Capital Improvement Committee decided to put it on the plan this year and to address it. And basically, this total project cost would be on $200,000, and that would begin in 2025, $200,000. Oops, sorry. Ahead of myself. Sawmill Brook Park was next in line under necessary. The resurfacing of the tennis courts was felt to be necessary. The total project cost for that would be $50,000. The other ones, there was Sawmill Brook Playground, that was ranked as desirable. The Dara Pond treatment for swim quality, we put that under research for more information. And new community recreation center, that was also listed as a priority for research. The library, their improvements included updated security system, an irrigation system repair and enhancements, and replacing the carpet. That was ranked desirable with a total project cost of $25,000. We really didn't get a lot of input from the library, so we kind of put it in as desirable, not necessary. The new library facility, that is still up in the air, so that was left as a priority ranking of research. Conservation Commission, there's no change from what was previously approved last year. You have the $2 million request for purchase of certain parcels of land. Expansion, basically one of the big reasons for the expansion of trails and preservation of wildlife was a key areas that were identified. This priority ranking remains necessary. And the total cost, project cost remains at $2 million. School district. So the land for the school was approved by the voters in March of 2023. And that land is contingent upon a new school being built. The CIP committee ranked the land purchase as committed with no dollars associated. As for the new elementary school, looking at the replacement of facilities and equipment, GMS has several deficiencies that have been created with the critical need for a new school that has been advocated by the school board. Currently, the planning warrant article for bond in March of 2024, and anticipated is $7 million in state building aid to be available to offset taxpayer costs for this. The new elementary school we ranked as urgent. The total project cost for that coming to $62,308,100. And the land purchase, as we said, was committed for the school. Other capital projects for the school over the 6-year period, the district-wide capital improvements we identified as necessary for a total project cost of $750,000. CHS energy efficiency was found necessary or voted to be necessary for $1,975,000. Also, under necessaries, the gym floor replacement, CHS irrigation. Those that were, that one priority was solar array purchase, which was committed, or ranked as committed. So that's a total project cost of $600,000, as you see. And those that were deferred, the CHA Stadium turf field, CHA Stadium field lighting, and GMS repairs renovations, those were deferred. So, and if you look at the capital improvement spreadsheet, it does reflect at the bottom where we talked about the necessaries for the pavement, emergency energy efficiency, gym floor fields. The 1.8 million bond would over 5 years for all 4 improvement projects. So, and if you look, the estimated tax rate, so for 2024, you have an estimated tax rate, 87 cents. 2025 is going to be $2.33. 2026, $2.34. 2027 would go to $2, so it goes down, and then $1.90 for 2008 and 2009, $1.87. And that is the capital improvement plan for 2024 to 2029. Any questions? And obviously, this will be submitted to the Board of Selectmen on November 27th for their approval. So,
If the board wants to take a motion, it would be a motion to recommend.
okay.
adoption to the Board of Selectmen.
So is there a motion to recommend adoption of the 2000?
Well, I have a couple questions. Like, if there were a motion to recommend, does that mean we cannot amend the plan at all?
Well, as I said, it's an advisory document.
Yep.
It would be up to the Board of Selectmen would have the authority, I think, if they wanted to, however they wanted to implement that plan. It's given to them as a sort of like a master plan, so, or a vision, so they would have to, make a vote to, either accept it or not, or, whatever they see as, what are the priorities for them, so. It's
Okay.
really up to the Board of Selectmen,
Yep.
so.
Okay. Yeah, there were just a couple of things like the police cruisers being on a 2-1-2 schedule.
Mm-hmm.
What that does is, what I think maybe for next year, the committee might want to consider is, if that's staying on the plan and it's a 2-1-2 schedule, is there another department that has a vehicle that can fill in that year where there's only one cruiser? Because what happens is every time that now you go from 70,000 to 140,000, that additional 70,000 hits the tax cap. So it counts against the tax cap. So the more level that we can keep that, the easier it is for the police department to maintain their fleet.
Okay.
That's a really good thought.
And then, and not only the police department, but other departments that may have, equipment needs. Another thing that I noticed is the land purchase. The school board has come out and said, they provided a press release, I wanna say it was last week. The land purchase, is no longer an option. So they are not purchasing that land for the elementary school, and they're moving
okay.
forward with a plan to build on current district property. So that, that doesn't affect the monies on the plan, but it can just be, the line can be taken out. And then I do know that there is, I'm not sure the exact amount, but it's somewhere around 7 million as the state has written them a letter of intent to fund. So that could be added to the existing revenues line for the elementary school.
Yes.
Just noting that that has some existing funding there. So they're not, I guess these aren't really amendments to change what's happening. It's more just some additional
Yeah,
information
input.
that could be added.
Sure.
But you could incorporate them into a motion to recommend if you wanted to,
Recommend it with amendments, or,
with the proposed amendments.
With the
You
propo-
could do that if that was.
It
the
is a
board.
public hearing, so, yeah.
okay.
Can you explain to me about the $7 million, just so I understand it? I thought that was, if they, well, you explained it to me. I always thought they were
That's the-
were
is that the
receiving
building
the
aid?
7 million. You went over that on one of your slides, right?
Mm-hmm.
Could you go back to that slide?
State building aid.
Yeah.
I just
So-
want to make sure I understand that.
Oh, so, the way we would do it is, going on this spreadsheet, there is the column right after the priority rank that says existing revenues, impact fees, capital reserves, or special funds.
It's coming up on
So
the
what we
screen.
could do is
You've done it
show,
for me. I just closed it. It's recycling. I'll look at Sam. Okay.
So what
where are
we
you?
could do-
Where are you?
is show the 7 million here, as a revenue source, and then asterisk it. So this doesn't really show it, but, if you notice, under this column, going up to the police department, you'll see $30,000, and then in the next column, there's a 2. If you were looking at this full spreadsheet, you would see a footnote, 2 represents impact fees. And then kind of going down
okay.
to highway department, you see the $1.2 million. That's 1, so that's showing that's a grant fund. So that's what we would do. We would show the 7 million next to GMS in this column as a state revenue, and I'd probably put a 3, because state building aid is not really a grant. I mean, it kind of
So
is,
I mean,
but,
is it
so that's how I
guaranteed?
would show it here.
Okay.
So that's easy to do. It doesn't affect anything. It just
But it-
shows that there's another revenue source.
Was that a grant, though?
Well, it's state building aid. I don't know if we call that necessarily a grant. I would just call it state
So is
building
it
aid.
guaranteed we'll always get $7 million?
No.
No.
So
No.
what's happening is there's a certain amount of money for these types of construction projects, and it's ranked by necessity by different towns.
Yep.
And Litchfield is one of the higher ranked towns at the moment, so they believe that they get it this upcoming
Yep.
year.
I agree, because we went through that with the school, but I'm just saying now that it's not gonna happen this year, maybe next year, are we guaranteed the same 7 million? That was my question. Are we gonna be guaranteed that same money?
I think they were talking about next year.
I know that there was a letter with the intent to fund for the March 2024. I guess it would have to pass March 2024. And I have not heard otherwise that the school board is not working towards a March 2024 bond vote.
Again, I just wanna make sure if we're moving money, that it's really true.
We're not moving
I
money.
wouldn't move anything. All I would
No.
do is just stick it in there with the footnote.
Put a note.
It is
Yeah, I
for
wouldn't-
I don't know what it will
2024.
be next year.
Yeah, I wouldn't change anything except I'd show it as a revenue
That
source.
was really my question.
Yes.
Yeah.
What? It's
Right, so
income
as
tax,
the,
what?
the capital improvement plan is updated next year, if that
Right.
state funding changes,
Right.
it would be changed
Exactly.
with that, yeah.
Exactly. I just wanted to make sure of that. Okay,
And
right.
if indeed the school board has said they're not gonna move forward with a land purchase, we could certainly remove that line.
Right.
Just a point of clarification, is there a key on this larger form for the priority ranking, saying what each letter means?
There is, it's just on this slideshow, it's cut off, but there is in fact a key.
Is a priority, right? Yeah.
Very good. Without you reading them off to me, I didn't know what they were.
So,
A legend is good.
There's only so much we can fit on a
That's
slide.
fine. You clarified.
yeah, because R is research, U is urgent,
Yep.
N is necessary, D is deferrable, U, I said urgent, what else, what's the other one? Committed is C,
And you have DR.
I think that's,
I think DR was deferrable. Yeah,
I think that's deferrable, yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's
So
just
is D
another.
desirable?
Desirable.
Oh, wait, I'm
D is
sorry.
desirable.
D is desirable. My apologies, yeah. DR is deferrable, D is desirable. There you go.
Yeah, legend across the-
If I've confused you anymore now,
Or just write it in, huh?
yeah.
Thank you for all that.
Key.
But one thing of interest, though, was the town hall, not town hall, the Talon Hall. They're gonna try to maybe find funding somewhere to really bring a professional in to really assess that building, to see how much it would really cost to fix in its entirety instead of these patchwork projects, and we don't know what that'll be, but it'd be nice to get some engineers in there to really see the state of the
Yeah,
building.
and that's why that was ranked research, because
It's
we knew
research
that
for now, yeah.
that's in fact research, that's what it
Yeah.
needs to have.
And it's tougher this year because we don't have the ARPA funds, which we had last year, right? So this is just actual dollars or articles at this point.
I had a question about can you give some details about the CHS energy efficiency? What is that?
CHS energy efficiency?
Yeah.
Oh, what was that?
It's not the solar one, is it?
No, no, no,
It's the
no.
other one, they're doing the upgrade, right?
Yeah, they're doing an upgrade,
Let's get to it.
to the high school.
Yeah, I don't want to misspeak, I thought it was HVAC, but I would
Yeah,
have to go back.
I want to say it was HVAC, but I don't. I'm-
Similar to LMS's energy upgrades?
Yes, yes, exactly.
Installation, ceiling.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Where is it?
Mechanical.
There it is.
Oh, you have it here.
And they were gonna get one bond for all of those, right, instead of trying to do them by themselves?
Mm-hmm. Right, and that is reflected, you can see
And
that.
to
on
Kate's
the-
point, these were kind of, previously, they had differing dollar amounts for each of these, and it did lead to a lot more peaks and valleys. So, through discussion, the committee recommended, the school board take a look at consolidating these into one short bond, and that was the result, and it really did help even out the years very much, actually.
Okay. Yeah, and then the solar array and storage, because most everything on this list is like expenditures, but with the solar array and storage, you're hoping to, it's more of an investment. You're hoping to have a return on investment.
Yeah, they all.
What is,
Yeah.
where can I see?
Yeah, they already purchased, or they already committed to an agreement for
Yeah.
the solar panels. And what's going to happen is the price of the solar panels, whatever their agreement is going to go up unless they buy out the agreement somehow.
Yeah.
So it's going to be more costly if they don't do that because they already committed to the installation.
But to your point, and it doesn't show it on this, because this is just capital costs, once they own the system, they're gonna realize the benefits, so there will be
Yeah.
a cost offset.
Right.
But it won't be reflected here, but it's a good question.
Do you have any ballpark on what how many years it'll take to return that investment?
I don't, but we could ask.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
They did have a,
Already committed project.
I can't
It's
remember what
already
it was
on its
called
way.
now,
It's being built.
Yeah, and so is it,
website dedicated to it, and I have to find it.
and so they're building it in sections year by year, or it's one whole installation and we're paying
think
over the 6 years?
It's about to get
Okay.
turned on. They've been waiting on certain parts and
Yeah.
approvals, but it's all at once. But the agreement has, it's probably, I don't know what the agreement is exactly, but you're paying month or annually or monthly or something like that for it until you buy it.
And I don't wanna misspeak, but I think the year of purchase is 29.
Okay, so
Yeah, so at the
nothing will
end
be
of
bought,
the-
oh, that's when it will be fully in ownership of the
Yeah.
town.
That's my understanding. I'd have to double check that, but that's my recollection.
Right now, we're under a power purchase agreement with
Right.
the company, and so that power purchase agreement rate goes up unless we buy out the contract. So it's almost like leasing to own,
Yeah.
maybe?
Okay.
Trying to find where the website was.
Anything else? Anybody? So, Kate, I don't know if you wanna make a motion or to,
I just had one more question about, as far as how this works for impact fees. Not every single one of these projects is eligible for impact fee collection,
Right.
right? So, we'll just take the total project cost of those eligible projects, divide them out through expected, cost per dwelling unit.
Well, we'll look at them, kind of one by one, but really the one that's gonna have the impact is GMS. That's really the one.
And I know there was a concern that there would be, originally there were only impact fees collected from this, as far as the schools go, for GMS.
Right.
But, let me see, but there aren't any projects on here that are proposed for LMS and CHS that are eligible for impact fees?
There's nothing,
Is that
I mean,
correct?
again, unless there's something I don't know, I'm not aware that the other projects that are proposed are designed to accommodate growth in enrollment.
Okay.
GMS is by design, designed to accommodate growth.
30% of it or so, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the district-wide capital improvements, is that just too generic
It's pretty
to
generic.
charge,
Yeah.
to try to, collect an impact fee against? Okay.
But if we were to make a decision that we want to update the impact fee schedule based on adoption of the CIP, then we could certainly look at anything else, but we would definitely plug in that new school number, which would increase the impact fees,
Okay.
because they're currently based on last year's CIP, which was a lower cost.
Right.
Other things in the future that could make an impact would be if we reach the point where we have a design for a new library and a cost estimate, and we include it in the CIP, that would be, an eligible cost. And the new police station is currently, already plugged in. If that were to come back after this $30,000 study and we've got a new cost, then we would look at that new
Then we
cost.
go from there. Okay. So we don't have to worry about the fact that there's no police station project on here. We can still collect impact fees towards a project.
It was in there last year,
Okay.
and we didn't take it out this year, but what we're doing is, kind of assessing the design, so I think it's still valid to keep it in.
Okay.
How come the total project cost with interest for the police cruisers is $0?
Because we're not bonding, we're not bonding or leasing those, those are outright purchases. So those will be cash purchases in each of those years.
Yeah, most of the items on here have the same value on both with for the
Yeah.
most part.
Right, so, 198, the first year was higher because it was a supervisor vehicle, so that's a 2-vehicle year. So basically where you see 70,000, that's the cost of one vehicle, 140 is the cost of 2 vehicles. It was a little bit higher in that first year because the supervisor vehicle, it required some additional.
Okay, but yeah, to Jared's point, it seems like interest isn't really being considered.
Yeah, you can not, if there's no interest, then great. It's with interest, not just interest. Because it looks like one
That's
column
right.
is a 6-year column and the other is a forever column, including beyond 6 years.
Right, so there is no interest because you're paying them outright. You're
Yeah.
buying, these are cash purchases.
It just looks like a mistake in the table.
So it's not the
Oh, I
total.
see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess instead of a 0, you could have just a line.
Well, I think it would just be the same as the column to its left because I perceive
I see what you're saying. You're right.
I perceive that column as the
Column headers are a little bit iffy.
yeah,
You're right. It should be, it would be,
the same as the column next to it.
yeah, I think we should clarify that it's with interest where applicable. That would make more sense, because it's not always with it. It's the same with the 30,000 above, there's no interest. So you're right. We can just clarify that.
We also don't want to imply that total project cost with interest, so if we put $758,000 in that column, we're not finished buying police cruisers after we spend that 758. It's going to always be there, so.
Right,
Zero
it's
is
not a
no.
balance, but yeah, that's right. So what I can do is take away the with interest, and then what I can do is put an asterisk. I'll do another footnote and just note that project costs include interest. Total costs include interest where applicable.
Okay.
It's probably the clearest way to do it.
Yeah.
Well, Kate brings up a good point of, one of the concerns, and we have 3 schools, is all the money goes to GMS, even after this here, right? And that's been a concern, because we've had upgrades needed at LMS, but we had the school in, and this is how they prioritized it, right?
Right, I don't think we can,
Yeah. It doesn't fix the problem short term.
well, until the school comes forward with impact fee eligible projects onto the plan, we can't plan for.
That's what I said, they prioritize
So it's just gotta be
this.
next year, yeah. Same with like the library, like it'd be nice to see even a feasibility study on there just to start saving the funds. But if they're not gonna bring forward a project for it, then we can't start saving for it.
I mean, they did have, they did submit,
Yeah, they did.
some information on it. I think the sense was that it wasn't.
Yeah. But I mean,
Right.
it was like, they didn't really come back. You know what I mean?
That's true, too.
You know what I mean? It was like, they came to one meeting and it was like, oh, okay, right? And then,
Yeah, I mean, it would be good to get it, yeah. Something
Something.
programmed, something planned.
Sure.
And I think there's a real hope that we will be able to do that, with Town Hall next year.
A feasibility study or actual?
No, and coming in with, the hope is to actually use some existing funds to do an assessment of the building and then hopefully really come back with something next year.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
Be ready for grants that land
Yes.
on us.
Exactly.
We had an opportunity for a grant, but we didn't have any plan
Oh,
to take
okay.
advantage of it. So we want to be ready in case this opportunity happens again.
Okay. Anything else?
Anybody?
I'll make a motion to recommend the capital improvement plan to the Board of Selectmen, with just the amendments to remove the school's land purchase line and to add the, and we can get a confirmed number from the school, the 7 million in, intent to fund from the state, building aid.
Okay. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Jared. Any further discussion?
Can I just ask one more thing? I'm still
Yeah.
a little
We're in discussion.
unclear on, so with the police cruisers, I get it, it's cash purchases each year. And so in comparison, the 2000 International replacement under the highway department, is that not $33,000 cash purchases each year?
It is.
So
Oh, no, I'm sorry, it's not. That is,
That's a loan.
lease. That's a
Or a
lease.
lease.
That's a
Okay.
lease, yeah.
Okay, sorry, I'm just trying to get a compare. That's like the only one that has $0 in the one column
Right.
there, and everything else is identical, so
Right.
I think I'm still just a little confused.
We use the highway truck there, the F-350, isn't that a cash purchase?
Yes.
So shouldn't that be a zero then at the second 90,000? Like the cruisers?
Yeah, that would go
Yeah.
for all these, the
Yeah.
highway, the garage, paving
Right.
is 300,000 cash per, so,
Some cleanup.
So,
like
I mean, both of them are the total cost, and there should be a number in both of those, because one of them is a 6-year cost and one of them is a total cost, and in these cases, it's the same.
Right.
So there's no balance in the last column. The key here is just taking out the with interest and then putting the asterisk, and then that'll take care of that.
so you're just gonna eliminate the second to last column?
No, I'm not gonna limit the column. What I'm gonna do is eliminate the words with interest.
Total project cost.
Total project cost isn't the same as total 6-year cost, because sometimes the total project cost exceeds the 6-year cost, in
Yeah.
which case you will see in the last column, balance to be paid beyond year 6.
Yeah, I get
So all
that,
3 columns need to be there.
okay.
I'll remove the words with interest in both of those. So
So
that
the
gets
6-year
rid of.
cost is the total cost.
6-year cost is the total cost if it's paid off within the 6 years. So let's go down to schools.
So then,
So if you
okay,
go down to GMS, you will see there is a 6-year cost. Then there is a total project cost.
yeah, I get
Then there is
that.
balance to be paid beyond. So
That makes
each of
sense.
those columns has a different meaning.
So then back to the cruisers, how come the 6-year cost is 758,000 and then the total cost is 0?
It should be, the 758 should be in
In
that
both
column.
columns,
Oh, okay.
right? Yeah.
Okay.
Right, so I'll add that there.
Okay, great, thanks.
I can amend my motion to add that
Okay.
amendment.
We're still,
What was that number?
Also clarify that piece. I forget, did you second?
Yeah.
Who second? You'd have to amend your
We're in
second.
discussion right now.
yeah, we're in discussion.
It's a long motion system, I think.
Yeah, it's a long motion tonight.
Okay. So,
Anything else?
anything else?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have a discussion on impact fees of the calculation after this. right?
Yeah,
Okay,
you're.
I just
that-
wanna make sure.
You're coming up.
Well, we're already talking about impact fees, so I'm not sure.
You're under any other
We gotta-
business,
yeah,
you're
okay.
coming up.
And if we are, that's, I wanna make sure we do.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. So I have a motion on the table. All those in favor of the original motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, abstained, motion passes 6-0-0. I'll make it cleaner for you, so if you want to
Okay, so
make an amendment, or now do another motion.
a motion to another motion to recommend it?
Well, if you want to amend the original.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to amend the replacement of 3 police cruisers line, the total project cost with interest, change that from $0 to $758,000. Even add a plus in there or something.
Okay. All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second, do I have discussion? All right. All those in favor of the motion as amended, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, abstained, motion passes 6-0-0. Okay. So we are approved.
Recommend. Okay. Great.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you to the Capital Improvement Committee
Yep,
for all of their work.
you did a
And
good job.
you as well, Jay.
Thank you. Okay. Next item on the agenda is return of escrow funds, Tall Glass Vineyard. I did receive something from Joan. I'm gonna lose my voice, I swear.
Do you wanna
Excuse me.
Lifesaver. Do you want a lifesaver?
cough drop?
Yeah, you know what? Thank you. I never thought of that. That's all right. Thank you. What is a cough drop? I'm dying here. Okay. So, what is this? The Tall Glass Vineyard, wants the return of their, escrow funds. And I got this letter from, well, it's actually from Kim Kleiner, who's the town administrator. She, read it for the record. Hi, Joan, please process the return of the escrow for the winery and bring to the planning board. They said to be notified, I think that's the winery, be notified that this will close the permits and the planning board approved project. Any new owners would need to file for any proposed projects. Thank you, Kim Kleiner. This was sent 11/20/2023. The total cost of the escrow goes to $1,915.92 plus interest. So I think she's looking for a motion for us to return the escrow.
I'll make a motion to return the escrow funds.
Okay. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll say,
Second the motion.
Second by Jeremy. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion to return the escrow funds for Tall Glass Vineyard, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Abstained?
Abstain.
5-0-1. Okay, thank you. All right, committee reports. I'll start with you, Kim.
With me. Oh. Okay. All right, the select board, we meet next on Monday, November 27th, 6:30 PM here at the town hall. We will be reviewing the SIP that you just approved during that time. Let's see, Capital Improvement Planning Committee, we're on the calendar to meet December 4th, 6:30 PM at the town hall. However, there's also a potential conflict with community power, so we're gonna let them work it out. So I'm not sure SIP is meeting. Have you heard anything?
Yeah, I'm not sure CIP needs to meet.
I didn't think we were meeting.
Okay,
I
so.
didn't know that.
Maybe it's making room for our other committee.
check-
All
I'll
right, so
check
that's
it.
when it was supposed to meet.
Oh, okay, all right, got it.
All right, 3, NRPC, the next quarterly meeting will be December 20th, 7 PM, 30 Temple Street in Nashua, where we are going to still hopefully finalize our strategy and goals and vision. And that is a full commission hearing, like I said. I'll go down to number 4 is the Energy Committee. We have a public hearing on November 28th. It's at 7 to 8 PM at the fire station. It's really for, there's going to be 2 public hearings. This first one's really just education for the public if they have questions about what community power is. Okay, again, I think we are going to be meeting December 4th now that there's no conflict with capital improvement planning. All right, let's see, one more. Economic Development Committee.
We should be meeting, go ahead.
Meeting November 29th, 6:30 PM here at the Town Hall. We're still where we were before. We went over our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and we will start to begin to make a survey of what's going to go out to the public.
Developing town outreach, yep. Developing town outreach, yep.
Yes, definitely, developing town outreach. We want to hear from you, what you want your town to be. That's what I have.
Okay, anything on, or she said it all?
She covered it.
I'm sorry. And anything on UN Energy?
She got it.
She got it, okay. That takes care of that end of the
I
table.
can let you guys, I'm
Over this corner, we're good.
gonna let you do that from now on, energy, and I'll let you do the economics. Perfect.
All right. So CIP will have their final presentation before the Board of Selectmen, November 27th. The Conservation Commission meets the first week in December. And what else? The Lower Merrimack Local River Advisory Committee meeting. They did meet a week ago. I did not go. Not sure if anybody went from town. And I think that's all I have for that. Yeah, that's it. I can't think. Kate, do you have anything?
Budget Committee has completed their review of the school's budgets, and we will begin our voting on November 30th.
Okay.
That's it.
And so I guess I'll turn it over to you, Kim. You wanted to talk about under.
Oh, I had 2 items. One was the impact fees, so we can discuss that. But we weren't sure of the process. We're going to refer to Jay. If we had approved some, didn't we go over half of them, potentially?
I don't think you, did you?
But that would be, let's have that discussion today, what we want to do, in case it has to go in front of the Board of Selectmen or we need a public hearing, we weren't sure. And then the other one would, just as a reminder of zoning ordinances, we really need to start getting them ready to do the wording that we want, plus run them by legal.
So I thought, my understanding was that last time we were gonna schedule something for
Yeah, we voted to send them to public hearing.
December 5th.
December 5th.
Did,
Yeah,
the ones that we approved.
Yes.
yeah.
It wasn't a lot, it was just the
Yeah.
ordinance, home occupancy,
Right, yes.
Oh, you're talking
I'm
about
sorry.
zoning ordinances.
The zoning
Yeah,
ordinance.
yeah, we
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
have many.
floodplain.
Yeah.
And they don't really, I mean, not to, they don't impact budget, but we wanted to have them ready for courtesy,
Of course.
you know.
Yeah, so we did
So we
that.
need to get those ready, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else, Kim? or-
No, we have to have the impact fee, I just don't know the process of that.
So, I'll double check with Kim Kleiner to see what happened. My recall was the planning board held a public hearing. Made a recommendation to adopt updated impact fees to the Board of Selectmen. But if I recall correctly, and not to put words in anybody's mouth, the selectmen felt that we should wait until after the CIP was adopted to take up the updated impact fees. So I think that's still a pending item. And so that would have to get scheduled for the Board of Selectmen.
So the Board of Selectmen is gonna review the SIP on Monday.
Yep.
If they are okay, or pretty much what's there.
Mhm.
Our next meeting, we come back here, and we do work here.
Doesn't
Or
have
do
to
we-
come back to the planning board. It could, but it doesn't have to.
So we only approved some of those impact fees, if I
I
recall.
thought you didn't approve any.
We didn't approve any?
We recommended the police and the school
Yes.
to update the police and the school impact fees. And the Board of Selectmen did not make any motions, I guess, on
So
those.
so we had this, I'm just trying to, it's been a while. So school and what was the second one?
Police.
I thought fire also.
Oh.
Fire was small.
The fire didn't have much on that one.
All right, so
I could be
Might
wrong.
have been fire too.
I think it was fire too.
do we need to have them bless the SIP first, and then we come back and, like what Kate was saying, itemize
That's
each
it.
one?
My understanding was that's what your board of selectmen wanted to do, is wait
Yep.
until the SIP was adopted.
Okay.
So as soon as you adopt the CIP, then I think you could schedule, schedule the impact fees on a board of selectmen agenda.
So we updated school, police, and fire. Looking at this current spreadsheet here, is there anything else that we need to update?
So
The fees
based on the study that we did, those were the ones that were recommended for update. You could look at other ones also, but those were the ones that were recommended.
Because recreation has items on this list.
Yeah, and they weren't on the old.
They do.
So we can,
And they were
update-
high, and that's okay, but it's on the list, so I want to make sure, do we want to do anything with recreation?
You certainly could. I mean,
Conservation's probably staying the same.
we've got the whole report.
Yeah.
Right, so should we go by line on that, and, now, or, I don't know if it's snowing yet, but now, or after
I
they?
mean, you certainly could. The recommendations that came out of the analysis that the planning board recommended at the public hearing were those three. So you certainly could look at other ones, but before we updated any other ones, there'd have to be a public hearing. So you certainly could look at more, but yeah.
Just watching the, yeah,
I mean,
okay,
what you're gonna see, though, I think what you would face is that when you look at what's in the CIP now, in this proposed CIP for recreation,
right,
those are really not items related to growth.
except maybe the town hall one, which is research, but the floor one, well, they're using it they're using it a lot now, it's not.
Yeah,
maybe-
exactly. Your floor is a replacement of an existing floor, so that's not growth. The,
The sawmill playground might count as growth, though. That doesn't exist yet.
it might,
Everything else it already exists.
everything else already exists.
Yeah.
So, town hall would be the biggie. Keeping in mind, though, you're charging a very high recreation impact fee right now.
So, I'm trying to remember everybody here, so if we as a group already approved the school, police, and fire, we made a recommendation to that.
Recommendation.
Do we also want to make a recommendation for recreation while we're here, or are they gonna have to wait another whole year till the next? SIP,
So you
or can we
want,
do impact fees anytime? I'm sorry. I didn't know
So,
we were doing
the analysis that was done
Mm-hmm.
looked at recreation, looked at library.
Mhm.
I think those were the only other two off the top of my head, that we're charging for right now, and felt that there was no basis for recommending an update to those. You know, I mean, the reality is that you're charging impact fees,
Mhm.
but there are no recommended improvements,
Not for library, for sure.
right, to accommodate growth. So,
Okay,
Nothing to apply it against yet.
the what?
There's nothing to apply it against. The impact
There's nothing to
fees.
apply against. We are charging for it,
Mhm.
but there's no basis for saying, there's no basis for assessing an impact fee on those items because there's nothing
There's
proposed.
no new library, there's no new town hall,
Right.
so those fees can't go anywhere.
so is
So
it
that basically means that if the impact fees that you're collecting today
Mhm.
will all have to be returned
Yeah.
Right,
within 6 years.
6-year
Because
window.
there's no expenditure, because nothing's authorized.
all right.
So it's
So
challenging to then come and say, let's,
All right, so I just wanted my head, so I get it. Conservation's continuous, they're okay, leave them as is. Library does not have anything pending. Recreation may, but they are collecting fees, they're using them. Probably
They are.
getting low. All right, but they are high also on the list, as far as the rate. It was combined fire and police, we equaled rec, when we looked at that.
yeah. And the
So
reason
leave it.
why schools, police, and fire were very straightforward is because in the case of fire,
Mhm.
you have existing debt. So you're
Yep.
paying on a bond, and a portion of that improvement accommodates new growth. Police, clearly, a
Mhm.
portion of that cost was to accommodate new growth, and school, obviously.
Right.
So those are the really straightforward.
So, if they approve the SIP on Monday night, do you want me to reiterate that we say the school, the police, and the fire?
Yeah, I think.
Well, now though, those numbers have changed with this updated CIP plan.
That's, I mean, we need. to
School
know.
has
Can
The
they-
school has changed,
Right.
but I'm sure they'll go
And
forward.
if you want me to, I'd be happy to update that number.
I think we probably should, before we go back to them. So if you update that number
Yep.
by next, we don't have a SIP meeting, so if we update that, I just wanna look at the calendar here. When's our next meeting, like December 5th or something?
I hate to make things more complicated, but we'd have to hold another public hearing.
That's what I mean, that's what I was saying,
On
we
the
have to
updated
factor that
number.
in.
But we could do that in December.
So December 5th is busy, we have a lot on the agenda, right? Maybe, I know we had some people coming back. We,
I think we'd have to do it the second meeting in December because we might not have enough time now to post a public hearing.
so what if we have our meeting on December 5th, just to go over the impact
Right,
fees?
we've
So
discussed.
we're good, then it's
Let me just.
public hearing, 10 days, right?
Is-
So, it's still possible to hold a public hearing on impact fees on the 5th, but we'd be really, really pushing it. It'd probably be better to do it on the 19th.
Right, that's all right.
Yeah, I think so
What's wrong
too.
with that?
What do we have on the agendas? I know that on the 19th, we have, the development. over-
The Morrill Street Pearson, I think
Right.
is coming back on the 19th.
It doesn't have to take long.
We had them coming back from Spooky World. Did we have somebody coming
Because-
back?
No.
Or was that
No,
zoning?
there was I guess, Attorney Perlman sent a letter.
Yeah, they're requesting a continuance at the ZBA.
Weren't they coming back though? Like,
They
did we
were.
say
They
December
They
5th?
were originally, because they were scheduled for November 20th, but they want a 5-member board, I think, for the zoning.
Right, but I thought they would come back the 5th, but we're really, it depends
But I
if they
think
get a full.
Attorney Perlman sent a letter saying he's gonna continue, he wants to.
Right, so we had scheduled them to come back, but we understood that it was
Tough to get a full,
pending
Right.
resolution of the ZBA issues, so.
so we should be able to do our meeting on the 5th with the impact fees,
Mhm.
with the updated numbers, expecting just the 3 so far, right? School, police, and fire, and figure out the school, what happened there. All right, and then have a public hearing on the 19th?
Is that enough time to notice
The 19th?
between if we say, if we
10 days.
move, if we move to hold a public hearing on the 19th and we make that motion on the 5th, is that enough notice time?
Yes, we
Okay.
need 10 days.
Okay.
Like it says 2 weeks.
10 days.
I didn't know if it was 10 business days,
Yeah, it's just 10 days.
just 10 days, okay.
But you could make a motion, well, no, you can't because you don't have the fees in front of you. So yeah, we'd have to make that motion on the 5th.
Okay.
And then it goes in front of the Board of Selectmen, trying to see what the Monday, I'm not sure what the cutoff is, right?
Are you meeting the 25th? Oh, no, you're not
Board
meeting
of
the 25th
Selectmen
of
is like
December.
second.
It would go to your first meeting in January.
Jeez, when's
It's 8th then,
January 8th?
second week, yeah?
Yeah.
Does budget need this by a certain time, or no? Is it courtesy?
It doesn't matter
Go to
what the
budget.
budget does. It doesn't,
When does warrant articles go up? When's
it's
town
not a
meeting?
warrant article.
So as soon as this, so it's the
April
Board of
fees
Selectmen,
still
it would be the Board of Selectmen who votes to adopt them. So once you vote to adopt them, that's that. It doesn't need to.
Oh,
go
we don't have to
anybody else.
go to any warrant
Nope.
article?
No,
Okay,
there's
so
no-
January 8th there to get adopted. It,
Yeah.
maybe. It's
Maybe.
up to public and hearings and all that, okay. Okay, so there is no public meeting needed for the Board of Selectmen. Thank you, I didn't know the process.
Because we couldn't update the impact fees further, or we can't update the impact fees further until the Board of Selectmen approves the CIP.
Exactly.
Yep.
So
But the Board of Selectmen could still move on that original recommendation. if they
Yes,
wanted.
you could.
They could, it depends if they want the school number in there.
Right. You could certainly move on police and fire,
On what?
on police and fire, if you wanted to.
Do you have, I have so much emails, like
I'll
100 a
talk-
day.
I'll
If you could
get
forward
with
me that.
Kim and make sure she's got, because it's been a while, so
Okay,
I'll
good.
make sure she's got the info.
We to see her email.
You could do them all at once, or you could do them, I mean, it's really up to you.
Yeah, if you give us the original, they can make a decision. then.
So in other words, if you
And the
wanted to
school-
do them all at once, you could,
Okay,
on
I'll
the
let them know
8th,
the
you could do
option.
that.
So
It's your
yes.
call.
Option 1 is what we just discussed. Option 2 is of the original 3, right?
Right.
Okay, and then the 4th, school later, okay. Thank you for clarifying that. And zoning ordinance is on the 5th or whenever we come back, right?
Yes.
How many did we have? I'm trying to remember the ones we had.
I think we just had
Mostly
2,
Yeah,
home occupation,
and floodplain.
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 Yeah.
Was there any other wording you tried to, that was like state law changed and you tried to get the local law to in
Yeah.
sync?
Not this year.
A lot of references were changed, is all it really was.
Yeah.
And what about that zoning ordinance thing about which one we're using? Are we using the state version or are we using something? Wasn't there something about building codes or something? What version people are using? It would not be here. It wasn't at the planning board, but it might be something that affects zoning, you said.
Oh, that would be probably
Oh.
something for a future discussion. We were talking about.
I didn't know if
the-
that was a warrant article that we had to really beat the clock on that.
No,
I
we
thought
were
it was
talking
about-
about the building board of
Yeah,
appeals.
of appeals.
Oh, that I don't know. That's a future process. But I thought it was, there was some, I'll do research. I'll talk with you guys offline. I thought it was something of which building codes are we using? Should it
Oh,
be the
that-
state
yes,
level?
yes,
Because the
that's an
town was
issue.
supposed to adopt something, right?
That's it. That's something. Yes, we
Is
should
that a
talk
warrant
about.
article?
We should talk about that.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
But we won't.
What do you mean we won't? Yes, we will.
No, I said we will.
Oh, yes, we will.
There's no question that the existing building code that's now in the ordinance needs real updates
Yeah, that's what I
in
mean.
terms of the references, but it might be a bigger thing than we could do right now.
Gotcha. I just remember hearing somebody rumbling that there needs to be approval by the town, so I didn't know
Yeah,
about
oh,
the deadline.
absolutely it
With the
does.
deadline approaching.
But I think when we were looking at it, there were just like lots of references to codes that,
Outdated.
yes.
Okay.
Are there any deadlines for that task?
No, but it would be town meeting, but I think the concern was that this would take some conversation.
It needs, I think it needs a little bit
It
more.
needs some input, we'd have to really think it through, and
research and-
we might not wanna try to rush that now.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say it's impossible, it's not, but it would be a rush.
Okay. Approval of the October 17th and November 7th minutes. Did anybody have an opportunity to take a look at those? Have any questions? Concerns?
I have on one, so we have to do them
Okay.
separately.
So I guess we'll take the October 17th first. Any questions on those?
I'll make a motion to approve the October 17th minutes.
Okay, I have a motion by Sam to approve the October 17th minutes. Do I have a second?
A second.
A second by Kate. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approval of the October 17th minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, abstained,
Abstain?
motion passes 5-0-1. And I'll entertain a motion for November 7th minutes.
Yeah, there's some typos in the November 7th.
Okay.
In like 2/3 of the instances of sidewalk, it's sidewalk.
Okay.
Yes, that was one of mine. Perfect.
Okay.
Like I said that.
Okay.
And all I can say, that was one of mine on page 4, when it says my name.
Yeah.
Stated, the comment that I wanted the checklist and checkboxes. The last sentence said I was okay with the site walk, but not the acceptance. And they put it, I was okay with the sidewalk, not the acceptance. And I said, wow, did I say that? Good catch.
Yeah.
But you're saying it's in multiple places?
Yes.
Okay.
Anything
That's in
else?
3 places. I don't think we ever mentioned sidewalks at all in that meeting.
No, I didn't. just
Yeah, it's page 4, what you just mentioned, and 2 at the end of page 3.
I have one more if you don't mind. I'll just wait till everyone's, are you all set down there? It was mostly that one. Page 10, section C, the last sentence. And it's true that I said I went to Route 3 Corning Road meeting with David Wheeler. The meeting was to ensure they were still on track. I think they should say, we're still on track for funding.
Still on track for funding. Okay.
Just making sure it's, hopefully stays on the 10-year plan. So if they could just add still on track, just to also say still on track for funding.
Okay. Alright. Does anyone want to make a motion to approve as amended?
I'll make a motion to approve the November 7th, 2023 minutes as amended.
Okay, I have a motion by Jared. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Sam. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approval of the motion for November 7th, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, abstained?
And
Motion passes 5-0-1. And that is all I have this evening. Jay, do you have anything else this evening?
I do not.
Should have stayed home. Okay, I guess I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, I have a motion by Sam, second.
Second.
Second by Kim.
Try to let you guys.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, abstained, motion passes 6-0-0. Thank you for joining us this evening, and have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Have a good night.